Welcome to another episode of the Creator Following Podcast, where today we'll be talking about community over competition. It was Theodore Roosevelt that said, "Comparison is the thief of joy," which leads me to ask, why are we as creatives always comparing ourselves to others and suffering from imposter syndrome? So first I want to talk about how comparison is really the enemy of the creative community. And with my first point, I'd like to point out that comparison sends you off your path. If we're always copying or mimicking other people or looking to others and following others, where does that leave us when we're trying to be like creative and original and authentic if we don't necessarily know even like really what we're about? You know, each person needs to find their place. And I know that in like the beginning of my creativity, I did follow a lot of people and I did actually copy a lot of people. It's how I learned how to create. But the problem is if I get stuck just copying people, I don't necessarily leave myself room to find my voice. And that's the real enemy, because I know that I have something unique to say, and I know that you have something very unique to say, and that you need to find it. And so the less time that you take kind of following what everybody else is doing, and the more time you actually take to create something very authentic and true to who you are, then the better off you are, and you won't be necessarily comparing yourself to anybody because you'll be too busy doing what you were made to do. The second reason comparison is the enemy is that it will leave you in a very unhealthy place, and it will actually start to compromise your physical health. When you obsess over something or someone and it leaves you in a place where you don't know where to go or what direction you should take in your creative life, it kind of stunts your creative growth. And it is actually able to make you physically sick. I have actually been a victim of this in my creative life before, where I just tried to do stuff that other people were doing and became kind of obsessed over it and obsessed over finding success in that when it wasn't actually my thing. When I really took a good look at it, it wasn't even me. It was just me trying to create something that somebody had already created, and there was no joy there. I literally ran myself into the ground trying to do this thing that became it was really unnatural for me. And so you really need to take a step back and realize that, am I making this for who I really am, or am I just making this because I think it's good or it is successful or that it will make me successful? I think it's very important to kind of find the truth in that and to make sure that what you're creating is really authentically you. So the third reason that comparison is the enemy is it is definitely a straight up lie of who you are. I went through the introduction of the Enneagram a couple weeks ago, and this kind of rings true in that aspect. So the more I compare myself to somebody, the more I am not myself. The more untrue it actually is. So whatever assessment that I come up with in the end is really a lie, because it was a lie to begin with, because it wasn't my true self. The thing is that we are all unique. We are all created a certain way, even if we end up doing the same things. So even though somebody else I know is an illustrator, we are still unique. Even if we draw similarly, there are still unique narratives with each person that kind of ends up shaping who you really are. So if we're given an assignment, so to speak, to draw a heart with a dagger through it, that person, even though that person is an illustrator and I'm an illustrator, we end up drawing two completely different things. It might still be a dagger and a heart, but there is a lot more behind each particular illustration that you kind of have to dig deep into, right? So finding your unique voice and not necessarily relying on what you think people want, or what you think somebody else is putting out, and so that's probably what people want, is able to help you kind of find your real voice and find that unique voice that the world actually needs. So the world doesn't need another them, the world needs you. If you follow people that you like, I understand that it can become difficult to kind of start to keep from starting to copy that person or starting to kind of go in that direction as far as your creativity is concerned. So I want to talk about some ways that you can prevent yourself from actually copying the community, or trying to just produce the same thing that the community is producing because you think that's what the world needs, because the world really actually needs your unique voice. So here are some ways to kind of keep yourself from comparing yourself to other creatives, and to keep yourself from falling into that trap. So when you're looking at somebody that you admire, or somebody that you look up to creatively in the community, really evaluate what it is that you actually like about that person or what they're creating, so that you don't end up copying them just to copy, or copying them because you think that will make you successful. We don't need another of the same thing. What we need is your unique voice. So being able to differentiate what you actually admire about that person, rather than just trying to create like that person creates, will help you avoid the comparison trap. Because whenever you do make that thing that is uniquely you, it will be that much more successful, and you will feel that much more fulfilled in doing it. Another way to avoid the comparison trap is to actually reach out to the person that you find yourself admiring, or that you find yourself kind of gravitating towards, and starting up a conversation with them about the things that you like. Telling them that they're doing great, and that you want to uplift them in the community. I see a lot of people just kind of not necessarily tearing each other apart, but I just see a lot of people that say like negative things about others because they feel kind of not vulnerable, but they feel threatened by what that person is doing, because they might maybe see that person as doing it better than them. And I'm telling you, that is not the time to feel threatened. It is actually time for you to uplift and encourage that person in what they're doing, because you see it. Make an ally, not an enemy. Another way that you can avoid the comparison trap is if you see somebody making something or creating something that you really like, and you feel bold enough or you feel confident enough to ask them, or to start up a conversation with them, ask them to collaborate. Like, you can probably learn some things from that person, and you would be surprised how much this person will probably learn from collaborating with you and working on something with you. You might not even know, but they might actually be trying to find somebody that they can like help keep them accountable to their creating and help inspire them to continue to create. You never know where anybody really is at in their creative journey, but the more that we uplift each other and the more that we encourage each other, the better off we really are. And the last way to avoid the comparison trap for you, it might be the hardest one to actually execute, and that is if this starts to become unhealthy and you really start to become a little bit jaded because of the person that you admire or are following, you might need to just delete them or stop following them. And this one's really hard because sometimes I feel like I will beat myself up for looking at somebody's creativeness and wishing that I was like that, or hoping that I had as many likes, or hoping that I was acknowledged more. And it's really simply a lie from the enemy. We are all very valuable as far as creativity is concerned. As a creative, you are valuable, and you never need to feel like you're not. You are worth it, and you need to realize that. And if you're following somebody that makes you feel less than, then you need to stop following them, because it's really just stunting your growth, and it is keeping you from actually looking for the things that are going to elevate your creative life. And you just really need to separate yourself from that so that you can actually grow and start to find your creative freedom. That's a tough one, only because there are some people out there that I really enjoy seeing their work. But then, it just gets to be too much sometimes for me, in particular seasons of my life where I just need to kind of take a step back and concentrate on just myself and concentrate on growing and becoming better and exercising like creativity on my terms and not the world's. So there you have it. Those are the ways that you can avoid the comparison trap. I hope this is helpful for you, especially if you feel kind of stuck in a spot as far as creativity is concerned, and you are trying to look to other people to get inspiration, which there's nothing wrong with that at all. It is actually very awesome. But make sure that the community that you have as far as creativity is concerned is actually healthy for you and actually encourages you and doesn't give you imposter syndrome or, feelings of inadequacy or making you feel like devalued or not enough, because you really are enough. And you're amazing, and I know that you can create awesome things, and that's where we want to go, and that's where we want to get to. So I hope this episode helped you out. Thank you for tuning in to this episode on collaboration and community over competition. Hope you enjoyed it, and we will see you next time.